Welcome everyone to this dog head on a stick. That's not what we came here for though. This was the first place I went to in California long before I headed to Beld, and around this building is the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. This place started out kinda lame. The first floor was just like rooms with TVs and a little bit of information, and I thought it was gonna be lame, but again, surprise, it wasn't. Once you get into it, it's actually really, really cool. So these first exhibits, before you get to the second floor, I wasn't super invested in. They were alright, I guess. They had some Bruce Lee stuff, they had the Rosebud sled and various other things, but I'm not the target audience for that kind of stuff. I was just kind of perusing them. Now the machines they use to do this kind of stuff, like filmography and stuff, that is kind of my jam, and I did like this Academy Award room, and this room had the entire history of Academy Awards playing on TVs and listed on that table. That was awesome. Then you go into these rooms with a whole bunch of like scripts from actual movies and like the notes that directors put on them and stuff, and that was kind of neat. I don't have too much more to say about this particular section of stuff, so I'll just let it play. It was after all that, though, that it really got interesting, starting with the Wizard of Oz room. It had the actual ruby slippers. I think this was one of the cameras they used on that particular set. It talked about Technicolor and how it works. They also had a first edition of the book itself, which is kind of neat. They had some actual script pages, which is also kind of neat, but what interests me the most were the costumes. They had the witch's hat, and the lion's mane, and some Munchkin stuff, and those were all the ones in the movie, which were pretty cool. They also talked about how the Munchkins were kind of fucked over by MGM. That's not that cool. Here were the actual dresses worn in the early scenes, and the ruby slippers again, except close and with the information. Neat! I texted a picture of the ruby slippers to my mom, and she said I should just steal them and click them 3 times to come home. Speaking of costumes, there were a lot more than just Wizard of Oz costumes in this place. Holy crap, there were a lot of costumes. You may recognize some of them. And let's be honest, you're probably recognizing a lot more of them than I would. Let's double them up because there's too many. You could say I'm out of my element here, but I will say that the one I like the most gets to stand alone. Shout out to the Big Lebowski. Alright, that's it for the costumes, but don't think that I don't have much cooler things in store for you later. But first, here's some weird mustaches, heads, and, you know, afros and stuff. Actually used in movies. And beyond all this cool stuff was this room, another one of the rooms with just movies playing. I don't understand these rooms. However, this one was with a bunch of weird, like, foreign movies, and I think they were all, like, kind of pornos, maybe? As evidenced by this picture, which I might want to blur out a little, just in case. I don't know what's up with these movies, or if they're any good, or even bad entertaining, but they sure were here. They got their own room. Alright, now here's my jam. We're into the animation section of the exhibits, and I love this. This is all my favorite stuff. Everything in here. There was a lot of information on how animation is done and stop motion, and the technology behind it. Bugs Bunny, of course, gets basically his own section. Because why wouldn't he? I don't like Looney Tunes that much, but he's like iconic. A bunch of scenes from Akira. And then they had these little, like, statues of stuff from different movies. I don't know if these were used in movies or not, but they are sure pretty cool stuff. I wouldn't mind having some of these in my house, just sitting around being awesome. If you think about it, I've got enough faces all over my house as it is. Maybe I do kind of basically have these in my house. Just a bunch of faces plastered all over the place. Mannequins and shit. Unfortunately, in real life, you'll find that sometimes there's graphical glitches, so these particular models didn't render properly and were missing their textures. Luckily, they usually fix that in actual movies, but not in real life. Real life tends to have texture glitches all over the place. Bambi, of course, also got its own section, complete with little actual drawings and cells or whatever from the original animation. And here is an animator, like, workbench designed and used by one of the first 9 people that were doing animation at Disney. Then there was this small aisle of, like, showing this machine for capturing a face for facial animations and T-1000s and some other pretty cool stuff. Have a T-Rex, like, robot there. A tribute to Ray Harryhausen. Talking about practical and digital effects. Pretty cool stuff. Then there was an entire exhibit on, like, a tribute to African-American directors and actors. It wasn't very big, and I think we see more of that in a future museum. But still interesting nonetheless. We now come to the coolest room in the building that was absolutely full of all of these costumes and practical effects from movies of the past. This was the actual R2-D2. This was the actual C-3PO. Like, they're all legitimate, amazing stuff. This was the actual ET animatronic. This room was awesome. Absolutely awesome from top to bottom. That's right, just soak it in. Soak it all in. All of these pop culture things, soak them in. And you know what? This isn't even the only or even most of all of the pop culture stuff we're gonna see in this episode, because I go to a place later in this episode that has even more. However, I would argue that seeing C-3PO and R2-D2 is pretty top tier. The other place has some cool stuff too, but I don't know if you can get more top tier than that. Alright, so you may have noticed this entire place was just pictures. I was strapped for time. There were only 2 things I recorded, one of which was this. It was kind of a 360-degree movie theater experience thing where everything was going back in time over the course of cinematic history or something. Kind of interesting. And that was basically the end of the museum, and also I had run out of time and they were closing, but when I left that, I got this beautiful giant Bruce in my face that I got to take pictures of. And then, as I was leaving, I went back to those lights that everybody talks about being part of LACMA. They're alright, I guess. But this ends my time in LA. Welcome, everyone, to the San Diego Zoo. Don't worry, this one's not all pictures, I just didn't record the entrance for some reason. Let's get into the actual video of animals. So I have heard that this is the biggest, most impressive zoo in the United States. So much so that they have two of them. There's one for safari African creatures, and then the one for everything else. I don't know if it's actually the biggest, but it's one of them for sure. So I wanted to come here to see all the weird animals. I wanted to see all the stuff that you wouldn't see at just any zoo, because every zoo has a tiger and a lion and like a hippopotamus, but I wanted to see what else they had. But other than a general desire to see all the weird animals, I specifically wanted to see a fox because of course I did. I wanted to see a bear so that I could tease Arklon. I wanted to see a maned wolf, which I knew was in here and I haven't ever seen one before. And I wanted to see all of the cats I could because I like cats. There was only one problem. I came on the hottest day in the world. It was 400 million degrees and 7,000% humidity. So half of the animals and all of the humans that had been in here had already melted into goo by the time I arrived. It was miserable. As you've already been seeing, a lot of birds and most of the dry and hot climate animals were fine, and the cats existed but were all just kind of on their sides dying. Everything else was just gone. There was supposed to be a polar bear, but it wasn't there. There was supposed to be a maned wolf, but I couldn't see it anywhere. So many animals were just dead or dying because of the extreme heat. Now, I did get to see a bunch of weird animals I haven't ever seen before, but overall, I would say that the experience wasn't really worth it. There wasn't a lot here that I really cared about a lot, especially to suffer the amount of absolute drenching sweat I was suffering to go through it. I'm sure if you went at the crack of dawn right when they opened, or when they were about to close and it had already cooled down, a lot more animals would be active and wandering around, but in the middle of the day, I was not so lucky. I did get to meet Tamoon though. That's pretty neat. Of all the cats I saw, this one was my favorite. It's so cute, and also completely dead. I don't remember what this is, but it was extremely tiny, and kind of adorable. I'm pretty sure I was going to point out how many birds I saw that Purple probably hasn't ever seen to make him jealous, and also joke about how they're all contained and not getting to fly free. You'll have to take my word for it, but there are in fact koalas under these that are trying their best not to melt like most of the other animals did. Looks like one of their giraffes got out of the Sahara exhibit somehow. They probably should capture that thing before it hurts someone. Though I didn't find any bears to tease Arklon about, I did find one fennec fox, and I think it's the first fennec I've seen in person. It was also dead at the time, and surprisingly tiny. I didn't realize they were the size of a kitten. And this was my second favorite cat. Not too long before I was leaving, the temperature started to cool down and this one woke up and started moving around. I'd never seen turtles swimming from the side before this moment. I'd only seen them peek their heads out of the water from above. Alright, that's the end of the footage, but there's a few pictures of note that I'd like to go over. Here are all of the birds that were in an enclosure. I saw a bunch of them, just to tease Purple. Here is a cat that was quite dead that didn't make the cut. This is how hot it was on the bird thermometer. The wider the beak, the hotter it is, of course. We did end up in a liminal space at some point, where it was like behind some bamboo, and there was just this old, moldy building where they were giving water. God, I needed it at the time. This is where all of the snakes were. Everybody was there because it was hot as hell everywhere else. This bench was right by the fennec fox, which was awesome. That's a red panda, but it's the best view of one I could get because it was also dead. Another picture of it. And finally, the closest thing to a bear I saw. And that's it for the San Diego Zoo. But it wasn't it for all of the animals, and it wasn't why I went south in the first place. Welcome, everyone, to the Judith A. Bassett Canid Education and Conservation Center, home of many canine creatures such as some African wild dogs, a wolf, a coyote, and several Russian domesticated foxes. So, God smiled upon me this day because I was going to sign up for the entire canine encounter and meet the wild dogs and wolf and stuff, but unfortunately that was sold out, so I went for the next day's fox encounter. But apparently I got super lucky because nobody else signed up for this. Normally they'd have multiple people and bring the foxes out to you, but I was the only one, so they let me go in the cage with all of them. Let's go meet them. Also, sorry about the horrific noise in the background sometimes. It'll make it kind of hard to hear what's being said when it's going on.
Uh-huh. And so, as you can see, foxes are very, very smart, very clever. But as you can also see, as she puts enrichment in here, foxes do like to poop and pee an awful lot. She can't even put them in there. And so, yeah, Sasha's already pooping. Oh, they're all coming out. And what you can see in here is some of the different colors of the red fox. I know that, nah? And so here you have the two different, you have Lena and Sergey who are red in color. And you have Vlad who's trying to take out Melissa, who is a cross fox.
Hey.
Ow. Hey, sausage. And then you have Laika who's a silver fox. And then you have two colors in here that are not naturally found in the wild, which is Sasha, who's a Georgian white with red. It's a color that's only found in Russia, so you won't see that coloring in any other place in the entire United States.
Is that native to Russia, or was it caused by the domestication?
It was not caused by domestication. It was a gift from a fur farm in the Republic of Georgia. So it was a color that was created at a fur farm that was given to the Institute.
I see.
The Institute really cannot create new colors because they don't inbreed. In order to create new colors, you have to do a lot of inbreeding. So they only select for behavior.
Right. I already knew about the Russian domestication stuff and how it had changed their physical appearance over time. I just didn't know if that involved fur as well.
The only thing that it changes as far as coloring would be like Pre-Beld coloring, but you find it in domestication. Laika! She's our verbal girl. And so, these other, platinum is a color you find from fur farming. all these other marble, like issues of marble behind you, fur farming, pearls, sapphires, all those are just colors that come about from fur farming. But the domestication coloring is considered piebald coloring, which is the spotting. And so you'll see like the Georgian, they have little freckles. They also have something called a star mutation. Some of them have that, and that actually creates a white pattern on them. And so that actually is from domestication. So, but the colors that you typically see, the very distinct different colors, are not caused from the program. Those are caused from fur farm breeding.
I see.
Look at Lena. I know, Lena, you're still looking for some more. Huh?
Some fun, baby girl. Oh, maybe not.
Ah, she's all, you lie to me. Huh?
Is there any more in that one? There might be. Oh, there's some more in that one. Get it.
She's all, you get it for me. You get it for me. And this is also very different. You can see that Lena allowed Melissa to put her hand right on top of that. You don't really find that in
There you go.
Or,
there you go. Good
so
girl.
for fur farm foxes or wild foxes, if Melissa were to put her hand near their food, they would have attacked her hand.
Yeah.
But these guys are not resource guarders at all. And so you can take toys away from them easily. You can take food out of their mouth.
I think you got it all, baby girl. I think you do. Oh, there's a piece there. There's a piece there. What is that?
You sure you're going to get it? Oh, no fair, huh? And they'll bicker and resource guard with each other, but they don't do that with humans because they have been selectively bred to want attention from humans. And while you'll see other fur places, you know, people who have foxes from fur farms, they'll be able to pet their foxes and they'll be happy to see them, but
Yeah.
it's not with strangers. And so that's really the hallmark here.
You
Is
got
the
it all,
fact
baby
that
girl.
Yeah.
those
That-
other foxes will also bite the crap out of them.
That
too.
makes sense.
Yeah.
At our house, we don't have foxes, obviously, but we do have like 13 cats, and most of them are literally just wild cats.
Mm-hmm.
My mom like built a little hole into the front of the house and like a little cat hotel for them to come into,
Oh, nice.
separate from our indoor cats. And they will let all of us near them, but nobody else.
Yeah.
My mom did the impossible somehow. One day, an orange tabby showed up that was 100% wild, like an old cat, completely wild. And she spent years just like leaving food on the air conditioner for it to eat. And eventually it got to the point where not only her, but I can go up and pet it and pretty safely not get bit or anything. If you try to pull away, it'll like claw at you because it wants more attention, and it doesn't know how to be nice.
About it.
But it's like,
Lena, you
it's
wanna-
basically tame now.
Uh-huh.
It's incredible how she managed to do that over the years, because so many people say it's impossible.
Yeah. And you know, and that's the thing is you can always you can tame a tiger, but it doesn't mean it's domesticated.
Right.
And that tiger may eat you one day.
Yeah.
But these guys are domesticated, so it's inheritable and it's in the whole population. So what you end up finding is there's really not a lot of differences between the individual foxes in and of themselves. So where we have one of the fur farmers who's over here, Vinny, and she only has one ear and no tail, and while she looks relaxed, you can see how she just got up because she's like, uh-oh, danger. And so we actually don't go up too close to her because we can't really pet her. We got her when she was 3 months from a fur farm, 3 months old. And she's just very, very skittish, as you can see. I mean, every little noise kind of freaks her out. Sometimes if we have treats, you stretchy, she'll come up and get a treat from us, but...
Come here, baby girl. I love.
And we've trained her how to take treats nicely, but she is more of a flight than fight kind of reaction, where we have another fox that's a U.S. Just captive bred fox, and she's fight. So if Melissa was to go in, she would take her out, try to attack her, where Vinny just will run if you get too close to her. And you can, you know, she just has this sense of fear about her. She's adorable, but
You are adorable, baby girl.
the stress of being in a fur farm, her mom
Yeah.
ripped her tail off, and that's pretty common that fur farm foxes, and that's why a lot of times they end up in placement situations or killed early on because the fur farm fur farmer really wants their tails. Unfortunately, it leads to them being killed. Vin. But she is a silver color red fox.
I'm gonna move these kids over.
Yeah. Although we believe that she probably has pearl in her as a mutation because her brother we placed with somebody and it was a pearl. Unfortunately, he died. So we brought her here, and she's been thriving here. She really enjoys her routine, but very much about routine. Where the Russian foxes, they don't need the same routine every day. We can adjust things for them. We can take them in different places. We can put them in crates and drive them all over the place.
Right.
Take them to different new environments. We're gonna bring them. We're gonna have them come in and bring them out.
All right.
Yes, you guys are bad kids. And as you can see, foxes, regardless of if they're the Russian foxes, captive bred or wild, they seem to like to poop 24/7. There's no shortage of pooping. And where people say, "Oh, I got my litter box trained," they can go to the bathroom in the litter box. They all do, but it doesn't stop them. Yeah, it doesn't stop them.
Come on, Mateo. Come on, man.
And they also like to sleep in their litter box. So that's even the better aspect of it.
I mean, I guess if you have some of the poop not being everywhere, it's better than none of the poop.
Well, except for the fact that they sleep in the litter box with the poop. So yeah, it's not like usually cats won't sleep where they go to the bathroom, but these guys seem to.
Mikhail, come on.
Come on, Mikhail. Come on. And so Vinny over here, she kind of likes to hang out and chill by herself. She doesn't really get along with other ones.
Let's go. I know.
So
there you go, Victor. Your turn now. Yes, there we go.
Little Vin. But you can see that look of fear in her face. You see that? Very different than the ones that you saw over here that were very, very casual. And so we're going to come around here. I know, Laddie. Come down in here, and if you want to walk down there, where Melissa is.
You can have a seat on either bench.
Ow.
Yeah, watch.
Oh yeah, watch your head.
I'm not fox height.
No, you're not. You're main wolf height.
Vic, come on. Is that
Hi.
you?
Hi, buddy.
Hi.
So Victor likes to be scratched like this, real deep scratches. You see how hard I'm going?
Reminds me of my cat.
Yes. Okay, Vic, go get love.
Come here, Vic.
Hi.
There you go. Perfect.
Hey.
Real deep scratches back and forth.
Aren't you just the most adorable thing ever?
He
Yes,
really
you are. Yes, you are.
He's a really good boy. And so he's great because we can take him to our pub crawls and we can take him to events off-site. He's really good with children, which is unheard of. Sometimes we'll have people in here that are obnoxious and will chase him around in here, and it's never really good for any animal, but he seems to tolerate things. The only thing he doesn't tolerate, like all the other ones, is they just don't like their tails to be touched. Look at Yuri. Yuri's digging in his igloo. Huh, Vic? Huh? He's like, where are my treats?
If you want to have a flat hand, I'll put a piece of food in there and he'll eat it right out of your hand. You're already looking, aren't you?
You can just see how gentle he is.
He's more gentle than most dogs.
Amazing. Amazing.
And you may or may not know this about the Russian foxes, but they have higher levels of serotonin they found and lower levels of a cortisol response than their captive bred counterparts. We call them hippie foxes because they're just kind of zen, they're chill. So he just, you just see there's just a different disposition about them, just really calm and not really fearful, not that big fight-flight. They can still startle.
Right.
Because they're not dogs, they're not apex predators. Regardless of what you do to domesticate a fox, you still get a domesticated fox, right? You're not going to get a domesticated dog because you domesticate a fox. foxes aren't pack animals like dogs are, and so wolves, and so you're going to get a difference.
All the dirt that came
I
off
know.
when you patted him.
I had all this hair on my hand. I was trying to get it off. Buddy.
It is like pigpen.
Yeah. You saw that lid up. Look at him. He's just chilling there. And something that wild.
And if you want to sit on the ground with them, you can do that too.
Something wild animals have is something called neophobia, where they're afraid of new things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you domesticate an animal, it decreases that quite significantly. So these guys aren't really afraid of new things like our other foxes that are not the Russian domesticated. And obviously the Russian domesticated foxes are the only domesticated foxes that exist.
Yeah.
Which I know it can get, people in the fox world get confused by the concept of domestication.
You're so cute.
He is. I feel like getting my tweets at all.
In a minute. You're not starving. You
No.
had breakfast. I fed you breakfast.
Mm-hmm. And you got treats after breakfast too.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
That belly is more than enough food in it.
I know it is, Victor. Vic.
So my belly's empty.
But I saw the videos of Fox Village, and they're huge. They get fed 24/7.
They are, because that's the only way that they can get those foxes to come over. Where Victor will come over for love. Victor's like scratches.
Case
I'm a
in point.
connoisseur. Yeah, I'm a connoisseur of scratches.
Oh, buddy. Scratches make you thirsty. Working hard.
He is working hard.
It's hard work being perfect.
You know.
And we didn't get these guys until they were a year old. So they lived on the farm at the institute with very little, if any, human interaction for the first year of their lives. I mean, think about it. Basically, someone came in and fed them once a day, and they lived. He grew up with the other few you'll meet. One of the other ones in.
We can. Okay.
I can get it. Let me just see if they want to come. Anybody? Come on, Mikhail. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ysabel, where's my treats?
There you go. Come on, bud.
You're gonna make him jealous. There it is.
Now, Ishi, we asked that you don't reach down and touch because she's not a Russian.
All right.
She's the one that looks like a raccoon.
So she's your classic marble.
Come on, Mikhail. Come here.
Maxa, are you going to come or am I going to have to come say hi?
So yeah, we got Victor, Ishi, she's the one I said we don't pet, and then Mikhail. And with Mikhail, he really likes just nice hard scratches like this on the chest. And then that's Maxa.
Maxa. Hi, Maxa. Go over there, Maxa.
We're not petting you,
There you
Ishi.
go.
We know better.
Mm-hmm.
We know better, Ish. Hi, pretty girl.
Oh, hey,
Look
well,
at you.
say
You sit in front of me
hi.
like a good girl instead of jumping on me begging. That was so good, baby girl.
So Ishi grew up with our first two Russian domesticated foxes. So she was basically trained by them and us. And so we got her when she was 6 weeks of age. So we worked really hard at socializing her, taking her to a bunch of different places. So she's pretty calm for a U.S. captive bred fox, but she does bite, and she bites hard. So that's why we asked.
I
the people.
rewarded you already for sitting pretty.
I will avoid it, but if it
I
was
did.
to happen, I would not feel bad.
I know. Go say hi. Go say hi. You don't want to come over here with me because you know I'm going to do this. I know. Yes, I know, buddy.
Squishy squish. Look at that pretty girl. That's so good. You're learning.
Dude, it's Roxanne who feeds her when she's jumping up. It's Rox, man.
Oh no, now she knows better. She doesn't
Yeah.
jump up on me. She comes up and sits and looks at me like, look, I did what you want me to do.
And then she's like, oh, I don't get anything, so I guess I'm going to have to start jumping. Or I'll go licking people.
Ish.
Don't bite me. Don't do it.
Ish.
She doesn't, attack
She's just looking to get attention, like, oh look, oh you look at me bugging him. You want me away from him? Give me food.
Mm-hmm.
So that's her way to conspire to get food.
She's like, I heard you got an apple peach turnover.
My
Where's my apple peach turnover?
apple peach turnover's in my belly, girl. Sorry.
Oh, did you eat the apple
I
peach?
ate the turnover this morning, yeah.
How was it?
Very good.
Was it?
I still got the muffin left.
You're
You're so cute. Look at that. You're so good.
She is with her little lip clippering.
You are so good. So what do you think about being in here with these guys?
This is awesome.
Was it about what you expected, or?
Oh yeah.
Yes, you want to come bite me. Yes, you do. Yes,
A
you
bucket
do.
list item for sure. I never thought if I would ever actually get to pet a fox in my life.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Hey, big girl.
Huh. She gonna get you. Where'd Max go? They're all
She's
sleeping.
over there, laying
Yeah.
down. Victor's like, okay, you can pet me again.
It's like I got an itch. Ishi yelled at him. Hi, Ish. He Ish. Ishi. Look at her eyes. She'd get mad.
That was it, Victor? You just got it
That's
for a
it.
10-second pet and then back down?
Uh-huh.
Was that even worth it? He's like, yeah, it was.
This is kind of like San Diego Zoo yesterday, except for you're in here with them. Look at them sniffing Mikhail's ear. I know, lazy kids.
I don't blame them. It's hot.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, today exceptionally. And these guys are from, obviously, Russia. So, although in the summer there it gets pretty warm, but they definitely like it more when it's cold. So, like in the winter, which is when you should have come, then not that you would have want to go around the whole country.
Yeah,
in
I'm not about to
winter,
drive through the
yeah.
mountains in winter.
Yeah, but they're bouncing off the walls, like completely. Oh, yeah, watch your head. In here. It is low. Look at this, Ishi. Huh. But you see how she doesn't really relax?
Yeah. That's more the kind of fox behavior I've seen in videos.
Yeah.
Constantly moving around.
Uh-huh. Where these guys are ready to go to sleep right in front of you. You gonna save her from me? Huh.
I want to go in.
Uh-huh. Look at all this hair. Should we save it for Matthew? Her hair is so
Maybe
different.
he's making a furry costume with it.
Well, he can ask Viv. She'll make one for him. See how different her hair is?
I know. It's
It's
like
so-
straining like a
yeah.
dog hair.
Yeah, that's why it comes out so easily, where theirs is all clumps.
I'm getting all over me.
You don't want it?
No, not necessarily. Hey, Miss. What's up, Miss Stein?
I love. Yeah, look at her fur. Axa.
Hey, Freddie, come here,
In
bud.
the second area.
Hi, handsome. Come here. Yeah, we can just.
There he
There we go.
comes. There you are.
Hi, handsome
Coming
boy.
to say hi. Oh, he's coming through.
Oh, cool. He's gonna come around.
There he
Hi.
Hi, handsome. Come here. Maybe if you back up a little bit, kneel down,
There we
he's
go.
a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah. There
Good
you go.
boy.
Stop focusing on the grate, please.
Yeah, you have to like kind of get it right on through there.
Seriously. There we go.
Hi, bud.
Hey, little guy.
You got a leaf on your tail.
He's so cute. So he was owned by somebody in a pet ownership situation where they purchased him as a baby illegally, and in California, and then realized that having a pet fox wasn't what it was cracked up to be.
And he will bite if
Yeah,
you stick
he
your
does
finger out.
No bites. Or
And so they looked for a place that they can send him, and so we said we could take him, and they came and brought him, and so we just got him in December. So he's only about a year.
Yeah, just a year and a couple months,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
why did they think it was a good idea to buy him in the first
Well,
place?
because they see people who have their
Oh, they probably didn't even just.
Instagram.
They probably were like, "Oh, you have a fox, cool. I want one," and didn't even think to look up the laws.
Well, no, I think they bought him illegally because they had to confiscate him to get him into And they lied to us.
We didn't
This is
eat
what
all that.
foxes do. Thank you, Freddie. And so they knew full well that it was illegal to have him because they made up a story that they didn't know it was an Arctic fox that they got.
But yet they named him Foxy.
Yeah, they named him Foxy. And so.
What did they say it was? A dog?
Well, yes.
I got a weird cat.
They said they thought they were buying a Shiba Inu puppy off of Craigslist.
And so they bought him off of Craigslist in the back of a parking lot, in a Starbucks parking lot out of a van.
He wants to get that fuzzy
Yeah,
thing
he
on
does.
top.
He doesn't, huh? So this is his summer coat, and as you can see, with Arctic foxes are normally brown in the summer, but he's a certain type of Arctic fox called a shadow fox, and he actually stays that color. He has some gray markings on him, probably from the pet fox industry that in fur farming that color was created to be all white. And so but he's not domesticated, and so therefore we really can't interact too much with him. He doesn't come out and attack us, but he doesn't really want us to give him pets and loving, because we didn't get him until he was, already 8 months old, so past his socialization window. But you can see he loves to poop and pee everywhere. And he usually steps in it.
I see you. You're gonna pull it in? You big scary polar bear, you're gonna pull it in? Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna grab your toes. I'm gonna grab your toes. I'm gonna grab your toes. Oh, you got pee on that. That was nice.
He's all, that's right. Oh, he's all, I'm done with you.
He's like, I'm out. You're not feeding me.
That's all you paid me for.
Yeah, so we actually have, our Russian foxes don't
Oh,
have
he's
the
drinking
same.
his water in there. Because this water's not as good as the one inside his bedroom.
Probably peed in this one. The Russian foxes don't have the same instincts as the wild and captive bred, so we actually have to put them all in at nighttime to protect them. So even if, we have a 8-foot perimeter fence, but if for by chance a mountain lion or a bobcat got over, they would stick their paws out to play with them. So our captive bred foxes are smart enough and still have those instincts to avoid playing with predators.
Fred, you're adorable.
But Fred has this lovely little area that he has indoor-outdoor space. We still put him out mostly at nighttime too, just because we are paranoid and want to protect all of our kids. But you can see, coyotes are relatively skittish in general.
Yeah, they
And
work
so-
in groups for sure.
Yeah, and because they're mesopredators as well, where our wolf is just down there hanging out, I'm sure, doing nothing.
Can I see him?
Do you see him?
No, can I see him?
Oh.
Stand right back over here where you are with Freddie. Right here.
Oh, there he
See?
is.
Yeah, stay right here though.
Hey, bud.
He's a hand.
And that's all the time I had for the cool fox place, but man was it awesome to hang out with a bunch of them and actually get to pet some. Originally I had planned to go to Save a Fox, and if Arklon had been able to go with me on the trip, I would have dragged him there without him knowing we were going there, just to annoy him. But Save a Fox would have just been a tour and information. You wouldn't have been able to pet them there. This place came up on my radar later, and did have the Russian domesticated foxes, which they let you pet. So this was about as good as it gets. Man, I recommend going there for anyone that loves foxes as much as I do. And this marks the end of the Pre-Beld California tour. Time to go back to the present, where we left off last time. This short section is going to be about big trees, because that's most of what Northern California is, and I saw a bunch of them on my way to my friend in Crescent City. But you're not going to see anything of Crescent City, or of anything in Portland, so you missed out on the entire Northwest being nothing but smoke. What you're seeing in the air right now is not haze or fog, it's all smoke. This was one of the clearer areas, but despite that, I wanted to point out this specific view on the left, because it's all I recorded of it. I've never seen anything more serene. Every time I've been near an ocean, I've seen, you know, ships and people hanging out and cities and life, but this particular cliffside road went by some jagged rocks next to some rough waves that led out into foggy nothingness because the smoke was drifting out to sea and you couldn't see that far. It was like an old game where the fog stops the draw distance from going too far. I've never seen anything like it. It looked like I was in another world. But yeah, the smoke was super fucking bad everywhere. There were places where it was looking like there was going to be a thunderstorm, but no, it was just smoke. Places where the sun was burning bright red and like dark orange instead of, you know, yellow. It was really, really bad. It made it seem like the entire Northwest was an eversion of the real world. Hello, from a large tree. A very, very large tree. That's right, without further ado, it's time for big trees. That's what I called this folder, and that's what I'm considering this section. Big trees. The first one I visited was the drive-through tree, because it sounded interesting. It's not the original that you might have seen a picture of with the, like, carved-out area, obviously. That one had to go down and doesn't exist anymore. So, to my knowledge, this is the only still existing drive-through tree, and I wasn't about to risk my car through it because it looked very tight. And I didn't want to pay for it. You had to pay more for your car, so I just paid to walk in there. It was also guarded by one of the arc lawns of the area, more on that later. Right next to it was this tree trunk you could kind of go into. This bitch scratched me. What an asshole. But it was a neat view from inside. And it was also next to these houses that were literally carved out of trees. I don't think any of this wasn't just the original tree at all. Like, not even the roof. It was just part of the tree. You could go inside of them, and in the second one, it actually had, like, fake books and, like, things on furniture carved into the sides. Super cool. Next, I went to what I think was called Giant Tree or Big Tree. I don't think this was the giant tree, but I wasn't going to go too far because mountain lions and bears are known to be in the area, and I wasn't going to get too far away from my car. But it was beautiful, and I wish I could have. And finally, I saw Corkscrew Tree, which was just a random tree that, I guess, corkscrews, sort of. On a slightly unrelated note, this was the one time I decided to actually record my car and its current affairs with a tape, but since I retaped it at home, the tape had been holding very well. It wouldn't let go until right before I got home, like an hour before. And a few more things to note. The Avenue of the Giants was absolutely cram-packed full of 1 million people having chainsaw, like, tree art of bears. I also saw this otter getting drunk thing that Nanashi might like, and this dick tree. I was walking with my friend in the forest in Crescent City, and we discovered the Tree of Dick. He's got a real Woody. Ha 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 ha! God, I hope I don't get banned for this tree dick, because it's not really nudity, YouTube. Please, it's just a tree. It's not real. But it had a dick. Anyway, that's it for trees. Bye. So after Big Trees, I visited a friend in Crescent City, then I drove to Portland and visited a friend there and in Vancouver, 2 different friends. And then I found my way to Seattle, Washington, to the Museum of Pop Culture. Sorry, but this one's gonna be another slideshow because there were just too many things worth taking pictures of and I did not have time to do a second pass for video. Holy crap, this place was absolutely packed full to the brim of cool things. And like I said, C-3PO and R2-D2 are pretty top shelf, but this one had leaps and bounds more stuff, and plenty of cool stuff all its own. I took so many goddamn pictures that even having these go at 4 seconds each, it would take 30 minutes to show them all to you. So I have to be very selective here because that's just too many pictures. Anyway, the museum starts in this cool room with all these cool things in it, like this thing from The Matrix, and then it opens up into a hall where you get a tornado of instruments. This is one of the coolest modern art pieces I've ever seen. They were all real instruments. Everything on there would technically play before it got glued to the wall or whatever. And that leads us into our second exhibit. That first one was really small, I don't know, it was just kind of like an intro. And by the way, there is video game content, we'll get to that later. But for now, we are in the music district, and there is tons of music stuff in here to see. Mostly instruments, famous ones that people have played, like, actually on stage and in their bands and stuff. Like this guitar from Hank Williams. That's the only example you're getting the name of, at least that you can read easily. There'll be some names underneath some of these. Yeah, lots of... There's this whole aisle of guitars to look at. Here's some more. Like I said, you'll get the names on the bottom if you can read them. I don't know how legible that is. I guess it's legible enough for the names. Like Buddy Holly. And they had an entire section for Jimi Hendrix, of course, and I had to give some pictures of those. Jimi Hendrix being one of the most legendary musicians of all time. And I think there may have been a little bit more to the music stuff on exhibit here. I think there was like a punk girls exhibit going on. But after the Jimi Hendrix stuff, I kind of just wound up back out into the main hallway and continued on, where other stuff was awaiting me. And here is that more stuff, starting with the fantasy door. What's behind this door? Could it be fantastical things from the old times? Of course it is. All these things are themed. Right within this door is exactly what you'd expect. Elf. That's something you expect in fantasy and role-playing land. I honestly don't know why Elf was there, but this room was pretty cool. As a museum, it's got to teach you about all the things like what role-playing is and what roles are, but other than that, I mean, it's exactly what you'd expect to find. Arklon killing people, an elf costume, what else? Oh yeah, all of the archetypes you can be, like the trickster. I like that the trickster is a fox. This thing was interactive and you could like push on them and they'd show scenes from movies showing examples of tricksters and stuff. Pretty neat. Here's all the archetypes that were on a wall. Here's Conan as a true barbarian. You can't really see it very easily, but there was the little archetype next to people showing what exactly they fit as. You'll see it here in a second on something else. That opened up into this room where you could sit on a throne and act like you're an asshole next to this dragon. Oh yeah, we're totally the king of town. Trust us, we're on the throne, aren't we? And wait a minute, is that the full Cowardly Lion? We saw his mane in the other place, but now we're getting the full shebang. And right there next to his info, you saw that they had the companion card to show what they fit as. Here's the Alchemy of Magic. I think this is awesome. I want that as a poster. And then we're getting into the Harry Potter outfits, which you'd expect, and the Lord of the Ring weapons, which you'd expect in this area. The actual Harry Potter glasses. Some more Harry Potter stuff. Pretty awesome. Then we had these two dudes. But more importantly than these two dudes was the fact that there was a scrying glass in between them that was like projecting a movie onto the sphere. I've never really seen anything do that before, but it was pretty neat.
Oh yes, soon we were in the Arcane Wizardry exhibit that showed old literature, like the Fellowship of the Ring and the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
Now what came as a complete surprise to me was the section on Magic the Gathering. I mean, it fits, but I didn't expect it to be in this exhibit. And as we wrap up the fantasy section, check it out. This helmet, hell yeah. But enough funny business, we're going to the Scared of Death area. It's time for Horrorville, which opens up with a bunch of face cams. I'm sure they're all playing the latest indie game, made specifically for YouTube. But after you get past the face cams, it opens up into my favorite area of the entire museum. There was once a time when the fantasy area would have been my favorite, but no, now it's the horror. Check it out. Look at all this cool horror stuff. Actual heads from The Walking Dead. Here's a short video of it having little bubbles go up. It was also right next to some sort of weird spirit Halloween hallway thing that had Walking Dead dudes and like a zombie just kind of knocking stuff back and forth. Just past that is an entire wall talking about basically every type of horror creature that exists and what to expect of them. Then we've got some light reading for all ages, I'm sure. Nothing scary is gonna be in those. I don't actually know, I don't read books. Look! It's the Nightmare on Elm Street hand! And the From Dusk Till Dawn whip. And there's Sam! I hope you're ready for a lot of these, because there is so much cool stuff in this room. So much! If you like horror stuff, just check it out, man. We've got garbage from Blair Witch Project. That's a bad one to start on. We got the axe from The Shining. Hell yeah. We have the hook from Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. We have the claw from The Howling. Check it out. In HD. That one was worth 2 pictures. We have the actual ball from Phantasm 2. And what better way to upset Arklon than to show pictures of my reflection in the ball to his favorite horror movie series. I'm not getting killed by it. I'm just there to enjoy it. Machete from Dawn of the Dead. We have ourselves a face hugger. We've got ourselves some head. You want to get some head? We got 2 of them for you. 2 of them. Both heads. That one was also worth 2 pictures. Onto your butts because it's the Lament configuration and Puppet Master stuff. I don't actually know Puppet Master that well, to be honest. I don't know if I've seen those. And I don't actually know what that's from at all. But I do know me some critters, and there's a critter right there. Not spooky enough for you? How about a Jason Voorhees? Or the Nemesis? Perhaps you want something more alien. Or, you know, just a classic. Michael Myers. Worth 2 pictures, baby. It's time to move on. Welcome to Sci-Fi World. We got a Terminator. Arguably still horror, in a way. But no, we're in sci-fi land. That was kind of a segue from one to the other. Cool shit. I don't know if he really deserves to be next to Greedo, but there's Greedo. And some cool-ass actual lightsabers. There they are. The very ones from Vader and Maul themselves. Alright, Jawan, nobody cares about you. Stop clogging up the tubes. Get out of here. Classic sci-fi time. War of the Worlds. Mars Attacks. A contact juggling ball. I don't know, that's a snow globe. I don't remember what it was from. But I put the info on this one so you can know that it is the flamethrower from Alien. And here we have Nermal from Garfield. And here's the egg I'm gonna eat for dinner. There is seriously just too much awesome garbage in here, and you don't really need me to keep telling you what it is. You can see for yourself if you're a fan. Like, that's the guy from Chex Quest. And that's a salt shaker. Obviously. Real talk, though, the Ghostbusters wall only had, like, 2 things. Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum had a trap from Ghostbusters, so that barely had more Ghostbusters than a haunted museum. A little weird, if you ask me. But I guess I can't complain with all this other cool shit all over the place. Alright, we've made it to the only thing I recorded in video form. Kind of a pan of the entire room. I waited to show it until now because it shows the weapons we're about to look at, because there's a whole lot of weapons in this room. Check out all these weapons. All from classic movies. Can you name them all? Because I probably couldn't name more than 3. I do know that that phaser, though, looks awful. We'll get a close-up here in a second of it. If that was an actual phaser from Star Trek, geez. They didn't put any work into it at all. It's just like a slab. Look at this! It's terrible. And why did Flash Gordon have to paint his gun with himself? Get over yourself. So this globe thing here is pretty cool. You'll only see one more picture of it just for the sake of seeing it move. It was kind of holographic and rotating. It looked like a hologram, but wasn't. And that's the end of sci-fi. We move on into the Pearl Jam exhibit. Wasn't expecting that, were you? Yeah, we had a musical exhibit for just everyone, and then we had fantasy, and then horror, and then sci-fi, and then Pearl Jam. They just had their own little thing upstairs. And while it was ruined by being infested by giant Funko Pops, if you were a fan of Pearl Jam, it probably has a lot of cool stuff to look at. I won't lie, I don't care about them at all. They're fine. I don't think their music is bad, but I never went out of my way to listen to it, and I know absolutely nothing about them or why they're influential. I'm sure there's good reasons why, but I am clueless. This goes on for a while longer, and I don't really have anything to say on it, but I will say that I've never seen a Tascam this old before. It is truly a grandpa. And this ends the Pearl Jam exhibit. That brought us out into the gift shop, where I saw some weird things like this Halo cookbook, what the fuck? And a couple board games I didn't know existed, and that was about that. It wasn't, because I skipped over something. I told you there was video game content here. It's time for the video game content. There was an entire exhibit dedicated to indie games. You go through this magical doorway into this colorful fucking, like, vaporwave vibe shit, and it was packed. There were constantly people playing these games, so I didn't even bother to play them. I just recorded other people playing them. And the games they had in here were kind of interesting. They're not the ones you'd expect. Like, that first one was Minute, and then here we have Slayaway Camp. Over here, somebody's playing something called Anarcute, which I've never even heard of. This one was called The World Next Door, which I didn't find interesting looking at all. Apparently nobody else did either, because nobody was playing that one or this one. Luna the Shadow Dust. This one looks like it might be a point and click. Here we have something called Muncage. This one looks awesome. It's like a puzzle game where you have to line stuff up so it kind of just matches and will react with each other. Pilgrims I actually was familiar with before, but I didn't expect to see it here nonetheless. And then there was this one. I don't remember what this one was. I didn't record the sign for it. There might have been a few I didn't record, but that was basically it. They had a lot of information going on the wall, like this thing started at the very beginning and slowly went from year to year, showing you information about what happened on that year that was notable and influential. They had another wall talking about music and sound design, and there was a third wall where some guy was talking, like it was an actual movie or documentary or something. I don't know what it was, and I didn't care. I was there for the games, I saw the games, and then I left. And that is all for the Museum of Pop Culture that I have for you. Hey! It's been a while. At least it's been a while for me. It's been about a week, I'd say, since we last saw each other at Beld's place. Maybe it's been even longer for you. I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit the videos and what frequency they're coming out at. So maybe it's been months for you. Who knows? A lot has happened. Unfortunately, the expedition ended with Beld, so not a lot of it you're going to get to see, but there is one thing you'll get to see. Let me just go over real quick what's gone down. When I left Beld, I went up further into California to visit with an old friend of mine that nobody on YouTube knows, and I was just chilling with them for a couple days. Then I went further up into Portland, Oregon, where I met a super old friend for the first time, and then on my way out of Portland in Vancouver, Washington, I met another super old friend I've never met before, and then I went up to Seattle, Washington, and that's what you'll get to see. Something cool happened there. Maybe you've already seen it. Maybe I'm going to show it right now with the beautiful bean footage. No? Well, in either case, whether you saw it before or just then, the next thing I did was go straight to Idaho, where I hung with my favoriteest person in the whole world for 5 days straight and just had a vacation away from my vacation, and then I finally left and came here. Where is here? The middle of nowhere. I have no reason to stop in Montana except that it's halfway towards something that's not Montana. There's absolutely nothing to do here, unless you count like a casino right next door, but it's a little tiny one, and I've already been to the really big ones, so I don't really care about the little tiny ones. Plus, I'm over budget as it is. Unfortunately, this trip has cost me, thanks mostly to car problems, and secondly to the cost of gas and like higher hotel costs on the West Coast just being ridiculous. Everything around here on the West Coast, well, before Montana anyway, was like closer to $5 or over $5 for gas. That's ridiculous. In the Midwest, as soon as I hit Montana, everything was $3.84 again. Stupid West Coast, costing me a lot of money. Anyway, I'm sitting here in the middle of Montana, doing nothing. I don't have anything to do here. And my original criteria was that something interesting or somebody interesting had to happen in a state for me to scratch it off. But you know what? Maybe not. I want to show you why maybe not. Because on this map, even though you didn't get to see my old friends getting met and all that, that was still a very important thing to me and worth scratching the map off for. And if we look at the map here, here it is. Let's get the paper out of the way. If we look at the map here, you'll notice that if I scratch off Portland for my friend, and Washington for the thing you saw, and Idaho for my friend, and Montana because I'm here, and I'm going to see something in Wyoming and South Dakota, I'll scratch off the entire West Coast, except for, you know, New Mexico and Kansas, because nothing's in Kansas, and New Mexico just wasn't in the plans. There is a meow wolf there, as I've probably already said, so maybe someday I'll go to New Mexico, but Kansas, I have absolutely no reason to go there, because my family lives in Kansas City, and that's actually over in Missouri, because Kansas City didn't even want to do anything with, or have anything to do with Kansas. That's how bad Kansas is. There's nothing there but tornadoes. But we have a lot of stuff to scratch off now. We're going to scratch off all the things. Alright, so here we are. As I said, I saw a super old friend for the first time in Portland, so that's worth scratching off Oregon for me, even though you didn't get to see it. So deal with it. All you get to see is me scratch off the thing, because I did a thing there. There we go. One Oregon. It looks like it has an acorn, I think. Why an acorn? I don't know enough about Oregon to answer that question, but that one was for me. Normally I'd be closer or a little more careful of the sides, but we're scratching all of this off anyway, so who cares? Next came Washington, which you either did or will see, so I'm going to just do that now. There we go. One Washington, a little bit dirty, but scratched off nonetheless. Looks like it has an apple. I thought apples were bigger in North Carolina, after having been where all of the apples were constantly being advertised, but you know what, Washington, you do you. If you think you're the apple genius of the world or whatever, go ahead with your apple self. Then next up, we've got Idaho, where I visited a personal friend, and again, you didn't get to see that, and that was just for me, but you're still gonna do it. So here we go with Idaho. Alright, we have a mountain for Idaho's thing. That makes sense, there was a lot of mountains. Actually, you know what, it has two. Maybe that's not the symbol, maybe it's the potato, which is a lot more, makes a lot more sense. The mountain just looked like it was part of them. But who knows, maybe it got 2 for the fact that some of them got 0. Maybe Idaho is just greedy like that. Anyway, for the last one for now, Montana. Even though I, again, admittedly, this is the weakest of all of them. I'm only technically staying here for the night, which I guess technically counts. I'm not actually seeing anything even for myself unless you count the beautiful landscape on the way here. The drive was awesome. Here's a picture of something I saw. Hopefully I put in a picture there. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and scratch anyway. Alright, and there's Montana. It's got stuff on it still, but that's fine. That's Bear. That's not the Bear State. North Dakota's the Bear State. These should be swapped. This should be the Oxen State or Bison State or whatever. Anyway, as I spoilery said, I will be stopping in Wyoming tomorrow, where we will see nothing. But after that, the next day, I will still be there, and we will see something in, I believe, Wyoming and South Dakota, taking out the entire West Coast, except for New Mexico. So, and then that'll be it. Then I go home. I guess we'll just have that as a little bit of a montage on the end of me wrapping this up or something. Or maybe it's already been inserted in one of the previous things with a person. Who knows? Again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making this up as I go. But nonetheless, we have one more time. We'll be seeing this map as I scratch out 2 more states at once, I do believe. Until then, this has been the map one more time, and I have more black stuff to throw in the trash than ever before. I will see you in Wyoming/South Dakota. By the way, even though we're at the end of the expedition at this point, and you've had to stare at my nerdy-looking Clark Kent disguise this whole time, I would like you to know that I do in fact still look awesome after a shower. Hey everyone, it's your boy Zeta here once again in the car for probably the last time. I'm on the last day of tourism and I just thought, you know, it's been a long time since I had a car update and this is a good time to do it, I guess. I've been having a great time for the past couple of months. It went a little over budget by almost $2,000, which is unfortunate, and has cut down on the year of time that I wanted after it to try and make something of myself. Hopefully Patreon can help me coast there, and hopefully it's enough time anyway. But nonetheless, it was all worth it. I've had an incredible time, and I would do it all again if I could. I would live this way forever. It's been great being a wandering vagabond adventurer going across all the lands. I've been in basically every state except, like, 7 or 8 of them, I think, and that includes Hawaii and Alaska, which barely count. But nonetheless, it's been awesome. I've had a great time. I've met a bunch of cool people. I've seen a bunch of things and done almost everything. And there's only a couple things left to see before I just make my way back home, and that's it. Have you been having fun? Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, you know, I put that in my car as a joke because my mom thought it would be funny to just make all my friends wonder why I'm in my car with me. And I was like, you know what, it would be a good prop for my videos, but I've only shown it like 3 times. So it wasn't really a good prop for my videos. It's just been there being a scarecrow. I did learn from a family member halfway through this trip that them driving around with their own dummy, not them dummy, but a different dummy, they learned that 2 things happen. First, it makes people leave your car alone because they think somebody's in it. And second, even once they learn it's not a real person, they want nothing to do with it. So it's been a great thing keeping my car safe, if nothing else. So where are we exactly? Why am I stopped here and why am I talking to you? Well, like I said, there are 2 more things that we need to see, and the first one of them is right there. That giant thing. That's what we're gonna go see. I'm about to spend $25 to go through a gate just to get closer to it, and probably only spend like 10 minutes there. But hey, it's cool and I wanna see it up close. It's huge. I saw it for the past like 10 minutes of driving, just kind of hovering in the background like an ominous tower, of which it is. It's Devil's Tower. And then after this, we're gonna go over to Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. No secret there. They're like like a couple hours away. And I mean, what's a trip around the United States without seeing the faces that were ingloriously carved into some Native American rocks? That's the most American thing you can do, right? I don't expect it's gonna be as cool as this thing, but you know, it's there, so I might as well see it. Anyway, I will show you the rock up close in either picture and or video form. See you then. So here we are at last to the final segment, Big Rocks, starting with Devil's Tower. Now I know big rocks aren't the most exciting thing in the world, but they're kind of the only thing in between me and home, so that's what we have to end with. And they are kind of impressive in their own right. I do like that everybody comes to look at this big rock when they've got this beautiful view they're not paying attention to right behind them, though. Of the 3 big rocks we'll be looking at, this first one is actually my favorite, being that it's natural, and, I mean, just look at it. It's awesome. I decided to walk around the entire big rock, which took about an hour and a half, but on the way towards the backside, I found some crazy people climbing it! Let's get a zoom in on that, Frank. You can only kind of see the one at the moment, but there were more, and we'll probably see them once we get further to the back of this big rock. As I pan down here, you can easily see the guy in the red and white over on the right there. There is another person climbing with him somewhere, but I don't remember where. I think they were further up, or maybe further down. They weren't on the same level. You're not going to see it in this shot. After taking a bunch of pictures and talking about them with people online, I got closer and looked up at them, and now they're still not quite on the same level, but you can see the second one there more in the center of the frame. Frank, zoom in! Honestly, as soon as I saw the rock climbers, they became the focus of this particular big rock instead of the big rock itself. Just some people trying to become champions of the big rock. Zoom in, Frank! So I continued on my journey and focused more on the beautiful nature around me, because the big rock wasn't the only cool thing to look at here and enjoy. It was a nice day, the weather was perfect, there was a big rock, all the things had come together for a great hike. Don't worry, they're still at it. Breaking news! I didn't get very far before somebody pointed out that had come from the other direction that there was another one trying to climb the rock that nobody liked. He was all alone. That douchebag trying to beat the other 2 hikers to the top. Come on, man. Be a team player. Like Frank is. Thank you for zooming in without making me yell at you, Frank. And that was about it for Devil's Tower. There wasn't much else to see. I lost sight of the people trying to defeat it, and just kind of walked around the rest, and had a nice little hike around it, you know? It was a little exhausting at times, because some of it was uphill, and I'm out of shape as hell. But, very nice place to walk. But do you know what Devil's Tower has, other than a big rock and a nice hike? An absolute metric fuckton of prairie dogs! Look at them all! No, don't look at them all. Look at this one specifically. Welcome to Big Rock number 2, Crazy Horse Memorial. This Big Rock stop consisted of 2 things. The first was an absolutely massive museum of Native American history. I don't know why it surprised me how much stuff was in here, but it did. I come from Oklahoma, so I'm no stranger to Native American history or Native Americans themselves, despite not being one, but this was a really great stop if you want to learn about Native American past. Especially about Crazy Horse himself, which I had known absolutely nothing about up until this point. I went here mostly because my uncle told me about it and asked if I was going, and I realized it was literally like 17 minutes away from Mount Rushmore, so why the hell not? I had time. And honestly, as far as big rocks go, it's more impressive even for just being a face so far. They think they'll be done with it in about 50 or 60 years, probably. But not only is it more impressive for being bigger, it's also impressive because it's actually an honor and tribute to Native Americans instead of just stealing their land and putting our faces on it. Anyway, as you can see, there was a lot of really cool stuff to look at, and I've got quite a few more minutes of stuff for you to look at, and I don't really have anything to say about it. It was just very cool to see all of this stuff leading up to my actual approach to the rock itself. And unfortunately, I don't have much to show for that, because they drive you up to a specific point and you just sit there while they tell you the story of Crazy Horse, which was an interesting story, but I did not record it and I'm not going to show all of it. I'm just going to show the rock. But that's just like a few seconds, just me zooming in on it, because we didn't get to move around the rock or anything. We just stopped in one specific location, and they talked, and we got to look at it from that one point. So I'll let you enjoy a few moments of silence with all of these cool pictures of Native American history, and then we'll get a little zoom in on the rock itself. Alright, I am back, and are you ready? Because we're about to see the face of Crazy Horse, or at least as close as anyone can get, because he didn't like cameras and didn't let anybody take his picture, so they went off of basically what people said he looked like, and agreed on. There it is! It's a very, very big rock. That shiny thing up there is a crane lift. Anyway, that's all we have for this particular big rock. Welcome to the third and final big rock and the final thing on this entire series, Mount Rushmore. Now, I may not have had much to show for Crazy Horse's rock itself, but I have even less to show for Mount Rushmore as a whole, because Crazy Horse at least gave us that memorial to look at. This is just a rock. I did end up staying for the lighting ceremony when I learned it was a thing, because it was already getting kind of late. But as you'll see, that was a massive disappointment. Mount Rushmore, what can I say? Everybody has to go see it because it's one of those things everybody goes to see, and then they wonder if 10 minutes was enough time to give it before leaving. Now, there were two kids that were traveling together talking to an old trucker or hitchhiker or something that traveled through the 70s, and I got to share stories with them of my own adventures, and that was pretty cool, but that had nothing to do with Mount Rushmore at all, except that we were all there. So once nighttime came, somebody came onto the stage and told everybody what to expect from the lighting ceremony, and what to expect was that they were going to talk a lot, and then there was a big old movie, and then it would get lit up. And that was it. So I ran into the gift shop to look at stuff for a little while, and I couldn't help but notice that they had a map where you could collect all of the states as magnets to put on the map. And I was like, haha, I don't need your stupid map, I had my own. Because that would have been like hundreds of dollars if I wanted to do that to get all of the states I had been in. Screw you, map. Not happening. After that, I got a bison burger and then waited for the patriotic movie to start, and it went something like this.
It was a time of rebellion and of war. It began as an uprising against British rule and turned into a full-fledged crusade for personal freedom and national independence. The American Revolution.
And that's all the audio you're getting in case they try to sue my ass for using this shit instead of having people go to see it for free every night. Yeah, it was 20 minutes long of this. Talking about the history and then, like, what brought each president into greatness. It's exactly what you'd expect from some sort of documentary, like, patriotic thing. Which makes sense, and I'm not upset at what it was doing, just that it went on too long, and what came after it was absolutely pitiful. Look, I know this isn't Disneyland and you got no money out of me. I came here for free. You do this for free. You get your money in the gift shop. That's fine. I'm not expecting a grand fireworks display for the presidents. But if you're having this 20-minute video, could you at least, like, light their face up when it says George Washington? No. You want to see what they did? This is what they did. It's time for the lighting ceremony, everyone. So they play America the Beautiful, which makes perfect sense, but in the middle of America the Beautiful, while you're still distracted on this stupid movie, they light up the entire mountain with one spotlight. I didn't even get to show you the one spotlight coming on. It was one spotlight. It doesn't even do a swoopy thing in the air and then land on it. It's just like, boop, it's on. The end. Go home. Bye. Again, I know this is free, but geez, not even 4 spotlights? Guys. And you know what? Technically it wasn't free because I had to pay for parking. So they got money out of me. They could afford 4 spotlights. Anyway, that's it for Big Rocks. This has been Mount Rushmore. It was the last thing I saw before driving home, and I do not have a driving home segment for you. So this is basically the end of the video, except for one thing, because there's something we have to do now, isn't there? So there we have it. I spent a day looking at big rocks. First I went to Devil's Tower, then I went to Crazy Horse Memorial, then I went to Mount Rushmore and stayed there until after dark, because it was almost after dark anyway, to see their whole lighting ceremony, and it was just one spotlight and a big patriotic movie. Big deal! But it was pretty cool to see all the big rocks. Unfortunately, I am now out of big rocks to see, which means that I've seen everything and it's time to go home. Tomorrow I will start my drive back, and the day after I will be back home, so this is kind of the end of the trip. Which means that it's kind of the last time to see this thing. If you're wondering why I'm sitting so far back, I just kind of wanted to show off the Legends shirt one more time, because this has been the trip of Legends. Very fitting shirt to end on, even though I technically am going to wear another one after I shower here in a few minutes. But first we got to do the map, because I saw Devil's Tower in Wyoming, here, where I am again. Stayed here another night, because it was the most convenient thing in terms of hotel costs. Then I saw the other 2 in South Dakota, which means 2 more to scratch off. Let's do it. Here we go. Starting with Wyoming for Devil's Tower. There it is. What is this? Welcome to Yellowstone, Montana, it says. Again, you can't do that. That's cheating. Also, are they just welcoming the entire state of Montana to Yellowstone? Or are they saying that it's in Montana? And this is... No! Wrong! Wrong! I don't approve of this. Anyway, moving over to, our new state, South Dakota here. Let's see what's going on. Well, that makes sense. Mount Rushmore. That's what I went there to see. So of course that would be it. Although it kind of just looks like a picture of Queen. They're about to start singing Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm sure somebody has made them do that before. Let me clean off this map real quick. Hang on a minute. All right, so here we are. That's it. We've done all the scratching we're going to do on this bitch. Except that we didn't, actually, because I told you at the beginning of this that I was probably going to scratch off Arkansas. Because while I didn't stop there on this trip, I did drive through it, I did stop there when I was a young child, and this whole thing was based on that, when I had only been in these 3 states. And so I've actually been to Eureka Springs, which was cool, and I remember it, so I'm scratching that off just to make this go from this trip map to my personal map. So get a good look at it. This is what it looks like from everything I've actually stopped at on this trip. Although I will mention that I've been through Kansas, I've been through Iowa, I've been through Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, just a tiny little corner of it, but I did, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So all of those, if I was going based on just where I have physically been, would be scratched off, leaving only Maine, Rhode Island, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, New Mexico, and these 2 over here that I kind of didn't even notice were on the map until just now, to be honest. Look at those guys, just hanging out over there. I didn't even notice they were there, but it makes sense. Wouldn't be the 50 states without them, I guess. But yeah, let's scratch off Arkansas just because, like I said, we didn't do anything there. I did go through it, but we didn't do anything. However, I have in the past. And that will make this like an official me map now. And there's Arkansas, something that didn't technically happen. That was a little out of focus, wasn't it? You know, that's fitting, to be honest. I forgot I put it on auto or manual focus a little while ago. But there's Arkansas nonetheless. Something we didn't do on this trip, but that I have done before. In fact, there's something that I remember from that particular trip where we got lost and we didn't know where we were, and we stopped in some town and we were like, hey, we're lost. And the guy was like, you're not lost, you're in Whitter, which is a tiny town of like 3 people that nobody's ever heard of. But nonetheless, that's just a little anecdote from way before the time of this. But there we go. Let me clean it off one more time. That's it. That's the whole map. Let's try and straighten it out on camera here. Camera's kind of in a weird place and my chair's in the way. Let's take it off of manual focus so it can focus its goddamn self now. I wonder how many of these have not been in focus for scratching. I'll find out in post. You'll find out when it happens. That is it. That's the full map. It's done. This is as much as I can scratch. I've probably mentioned it 100 times by now, but in case I cut it out or something, I do have reason to go to New Mexico, Kentucky, and maybe Tennessee someday. And technically I had a bunch of friends in South Carolina that all just canceled. And I could have stopped in New Jersey and saw the Statue of Liberty from that side, but I didn't. Nonetheless, those states I kind of have a reason to go to, but everything else not really. Maybe someday I'll see them all. I don't really have any desire to go to Alaska, but at this point, when you've already seen 42 of the states, you kind of have to finish it. Oh yeah, and Florida has Disneyland, so I could use that for that. You kind of have to give yourself a reason to go to all of them, you know? But yeah, that's it. The map is over. This is the last time you're seeing it. Let me just move the camera and pick it up and show you in my hands the beautiful map that we have all watched myself uncover. Over the past 2 months, this is what we've done. We've gone to all these places, and then some, even though we didn't stop in some of them. And Montana was kind of a piss-poor excuse, and it's just because I stayed overnight at a hotel there, but that's not important. There's nothing in Montana. We did it! We did all of this! And you've gotten to see it all at this point, hopefully. God, I hope. Otherwise, something went horribly wrong. But let's say goodbye to the map. This is going to go in my room and just be there until sometime when I need it to scratch off a state that I've gone to. And that kind of wraps up most of this trip. I'm not centered or anything here. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. That kind of wraps up most of this trip. I've got tomorrow I'm driving to a hotel and staying overnight there, like I said, and then the next day I go home. And then I get to spend the next 10 months or so worth of time trying to make something of myself, and also editing all these videos, hopefully a little faster than that, but we'll see. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with them, as I've said many times by this point. Obviously, you will have seen what I decided to do with them by the time you see this, so that was kind of pointless to say. But it's all future Zeta's problem, which I'm sure has been narrating this entire trip for you.
And it's taken most of 44 days to edit, so fuck you, past Zeta. Fuck you!
Up until this point, and he's probably really pissed off for me making that his problem. But this is past Zeta, or I guess at this moment, it's present Zeta signing off. Maybe you'll see me in my last hotel room for something, maybe not. But in either case, I've had a great trip, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and thank you to everyone who's given me even a single dollar to help make this possible, because without staying over at a bunch of people's places for free and having a bunch of financial support, this would not have been possible, and I would have not gotten to see all of these cool things or all of these cool people, or play, well, I guess I would have played the games either way, but most of the games wouldn't have been played with them without this whole thing happening. So thank you all for joining me and for supporting me, and let me just stop rambling and turn off the camera, because I'm losing my sense of ability to use the English language. My laptop just made lights for some reason. Bye! I'm gonna go shower. And probably shave.
The wheel of fate keeps turning, and it bound us all together. And with each stop I made, another memory was born. Each token of the past I gave out gave me one in return. Memories I'll take with me for the rest of my life.